This is just a quick video on all of the important resources within Palworld. There are a lot of different resources you will come across throughout your journey in this game. A lot of them are not created equally. Some resources will be things you're using early on, they don't use as much later on, and there's other things that you're going to use basically throughout the entirety of the game. Also, some special notes on certain items that are just incredibly rare that you're just going to want to keep and use wisely. So yeah, this is just a video on all the different resources in the game. Starting at the top, one of the most important resources you're going to come across a lot of within this game is going to be gold coins. Now, I put this on the list because it's incredibly important to just sometimes go buy something instead of farming it yourself. There are a lot of different vendors, a lot of different merchants, a lot of different people in Palworlds that you can speak to that will sell you different resources. So one thing that I can also tell you is that you can actually take these merchants sometimes and maybe or maybe not unethically capture them and put them in your base. And being able to do that means you have very easy access to things like milk, things like eggs, certain pallet organs. There are a lot of different resources that merchants will sell you, and the ability to capture one and put it in your base and then just have gold coins in the background that you can use at any time to purchase whatever it is you need. Very important for the end game. The amount of times I've just bought a whole stack of eggs, 999 eggs, just to make some cake, do it all the time. It's much faster than farming it, even though farming is, passive in the background. Sometimes doing the automatic route of just buying a bunch of eggs and cooking cake is much faster. So gold coins goes on that list because of how convenient it is to just buy certain things at certain times. The next major thing I strongly suggest getting as much as possible is going to be pure quartz. This is the main hiccup for me in the end game. I have a lot of the other ores, got a lot of coal, a lot of palladium fragments, a lot of ore in general, but pure quartz is the main thing I am struggling with in the end game, and that is because it is a vital component for a lot of different things. Most notably, going to be circuit boards. Every single time you make a circuit board, you're going to be using pure quartz, and anytime you make a computer, you are going to need circuit boards. So we have that little, hierarchy of crafting materials. You need quartz to make circuit boards, and you need circuit boards to make computers. And these are things you're going to be doing and using all the time in the end game. I would say that circuit boards are kind of like the mid-game item. Like once you're getting circuit boards crafted, you're officially in the mid-game. And then once you got computers starting to be crafted, you're officially like in the end game, I would say. Next up, I want to talk about some particular pal drops that are incredibly important. The most important one out of any pal drop in the game is going to be high quality pal oil. This is used for so many different things, but most notably making polymer. Now, polymer is another part of the circuit board crafting recipe, so you need to get high quality pallet oil in order to make circuit boards as well. So this is just another thing that I'm constantly finding myself running out of in the end game, but good thing is this is another thing you can go purchase from a vendor if you have all those coins I mentioned earlier. Sticking with the pal items for a moment, I also want to mention flame organs, ice organs, electric organs, venom glands, as well as the pal fluids. These are also items that you're going to find yourself using a lot of throughout the game, not just in the end game, in the early game, it doesn't matter. These are things you're going to use all the time. Get on that as fast as possible. Make yourself a farm if you need to. Find specific locations to farm those particular types of pals. Maybe I can make a video on that, but these are incredibly important for a various amount of recipes. I'm not going to go over all of them, but all the different pal materials from different pal types, incredibly important in the late game, very important in the early game. Really just want to get as much of this as possible. Moving into some ingredients. Cake is the most important thing in the end game. Breeding pals is the end game, and you're going to be doing a lot of it. Cake requires a few different resources. It requires wheat, it requires berries, eggs, milk, and honey. Now, eggs, milk, and honey, we already kind of went over as you can just buy it from a vendor, but wheat, you can also still buy it, but it's also a crop you can just grow. So I recommend making a farm dedicated just to these two, berries and wheat. More importantly, wheat, because you actually have to process this into flour. Now, to my knowledge, I don't know if there is a vendor that will sell you straight flour. I do know there are vendors that will sell you wheat, but straight flour is something you actually need to process yourself. So I strongly suggest making a base for the entire purpose of making as much flour as possible. I find myself running out all the time, and I'm constantly making cake, so I need as much flour as possible. So this is my little PSA. If you're going to be doing any breeding in the end game or even the early game or mid game, it doesn't matter. Get as much wheat as possible. It's incredibly important for that purpose. Kind of moving back into ores with the obvious dummy one, which is going to be palladium fragments. This is just one they're going to be using throughout the entirety of the game. This isn't really a hiccup for me because eventually you just end up creating so much of this and your base is just so efficient you don't really need to farm for this anymore. But in the early game especially, palladium fragments are incredibly important, and trying to have as much of this as you possibly can will always help you. The next major currency I want to talk about is going to be the successful bounty token. These are incredibly important for a few different reasons, as they can let you buy pal reversers, which allow you to change the gender of a pal for any sort of breeding related things. You can also get the ripe star fruit, which is very important as well, as it just increases the pal ranking by 1. Very helpful for any sort of pals that you just don't want to go out and farm. You can buy these. You also have technical manuals that will allow you to get tech points. This is something that maybe in the mid game you might struggle to get because the game will just overflow you with a bunch of different things you can craft, but you don't have the tech points for it. So this is a very easy way to get some tech points. It's just to do these bounties and spend them on these manuals. Now, if you're wondering where the vendor is to actually use those bounty tokens, it's right over here in the Fishman's Port, which is right off the coast of the big volcanic island. Now, the next major resource I recommend trying to get as much as possible is going to be a resource from this guy, Mimog. He drops a certain resource called Dog Coin, which can be used at this vendor right here, the Metal Merchant. If you want to know where to find one, the easiest one to find is right over here on the reddish part of the map, right over in one of the spawn islands. And essentially, this guy will sell you various different items. Most important thing he will probably sell you right at the start is going to be these boxes for extra accessory slots. These are very important, but not only that, he will sell you all of the technical manuals in the game. That was, I guess, my nice little segue to talk about the handbooks that you can get throughout the game. Handbooks are an incredibly important resource within the end game because this just allows you to perfect your pals. I recommend using these on very specific pals and be strategic with these because just using them on anything is a waste. These essentially will increase a certain pal's affinity by +1 for whatever work suitability they have. So if I have a pal that is specifically for farming or a ranch pal, I can give it one of these books and increase that affinity to +1. The next major resource I also want to talk about is going to be pal souls. These are things you're just going to accumulate as you play the game and you kill pals and just explore the world, but they're very important for just upgrading pal stats. You can increase their health, their damage, their work speed, etc. These are incredibly important in the late, mid, early game. It does not matter. Get these as often as you possibly can and save up as much as you can as well, because the small palisades are still very helpful in the late game because you can use a crusher to turn the small palisades into a medium, and then medium palisades into a large, and then a large into a giant palisade. So get as much of those as possible. The next resource I want to mention is going to be World Tree Holy Water. Now, this is specifically an endgame related item, so if you are nowhere near the endgame and you have not explored the World Tree yet, you do not need to worry about this. But I need to put on the list because of how important it is and how much of a bottleneck it has been for me. Essentially, the final ore type in the game requires 1 holy water every single time you craft it. And there is no way to actually farm for this. There is no building you can make in your base to, passively farm for this. The only way to get this is by defeating pals in the World Tree. And that is something you yourself need to do. There is no farming for this. You actually have to go out and get it. So World Tree Holy Water is what I put as like the little asterisks here because this is incredibly important. It's only important in the end game, but if there's any way to get this early on, if you have any way to get there in the World Tree and farm for this early on before you really need it, do that because it will save you a lot of farming in the end game. Anyways, that was just a list of resources that I think are the most important to Palworlds. Obviously, this is not a complete list. There are a lot of different resources in this game. Some are going to be more relevant than others depending on what stage of the game you're in, but I think this is a good, healthy list of things that will just help you throughout your journey. Having a surplus of any of these resources will always make your gameplay experience more fun, it'll make it better, and overall make it more enjoyable. I hope this video helps somebody because this game has a lot of different things to go through, a lot of different resources to try to keep memorized, and these are just the resources that to me are the more annoying things to farm or the more annoying things to constantly run out of. Anyways, that's the video. Thank you so much and have a nice day.